Do you remember when Kane didn't suck? I know, it's hard for me to remember too, but I have had it confirmed by several sources that once upon a time, the Big Red Machine was actually quite cool. But if that is the case, when exactly did he go from awesome to awful? Well, that's the exact question we're here to discuss, because today... A quick shout out to all my awesome Patreons like True Sinister and Rodney Harris. Thank you so much for the support, and if you want your own Patreon shout out, please go over and sign up on my Patreon page. Are you subscribed to this channel? Are you a member of Know-It-All Nation? Well, I sure hope that you are, and I appreciate everyone who is. Thanks so much, and let's get into the video. Okay, just by being asked this question, I'm pretty sure that all of us have an idea in our heads of when exactly the character of Kane jumped off the rails. But before you commit to an answer, I do have to say that I think if you stop to look at his entire career, you'll see that he was always on somewhat of a downward spiral. As successful as the Attitude Era was, it also meant the close of a different era, the era of the highly stylized gimmick. Now sure, that's not to say that the occasional highly fictionalized character wouldn't still slip through the cracks every once in a while, but now it was the exception rather than the norm. But even with that being the case, the Attitude Era still scored a major victory by giving us the greatest response gimmick of all time. Kane. What I mean by this is that up until this point, there had been plenty of characters that were created solely in response to a pre-existing one, antithesis characters if you will, but none of them before or since have ever lived up to the Big Red Machine. Of course, it could be argued that much of Kane's success could come from the fact that he's a response to a wrestler that many think has the greatest gimmick of all time, The Undertaker, which is not to say that he owes absolutely everything to that of his big brother, as I've already made a video talking about all the things that he has over the Phenom. First, he has an absolutely wonderful origin story. The idea that he's a long-lost brother out for revenge is just so soap opera in the best possible way, and it's also hard to beat that original costume. While it might not be great to wrestle in, it sure did look cool. And furthermore, after Taker had spent several years up until this point as a massive babyface, a lot of us wanted a return to form to get a true villainous monster, and that's exactly what we got with Kane. However, as awesome as things were in the beginning, there were a few bits that didn't do Kane any favors, such as only getting to win the WWF World title for a single day, as well as his entire program with Pete Rose, as nobody wants to see their monster as the butt of a joke. But of course, since I did just bring up how great his costume was, there is one particular issue that many people feel was the point of no return for Kane. Now, I know that this moment right here is the exact second that many fans feel that Kane jumped the shark and was never able to recover from. However, while we will talk about this, I do have to ask, are you absolutely sure that this was the moment that Kane was ruined and it didn't happen earlier than this? Because you can definitely make an argument, or several. First, let's go back to Tori, and I don't mean Tori Wilson, I mean the other Tori in the WWF. Yeah, I'm willing to bet some people forgot about her. Anyway, at one point in time, for some reason, she was scripted to be Kane's on-screen girlfriend. And back then, this was over to a degree, but that was only because during the Attitude Era, just about everything was over. Nevertheless, the point still remains that nobody wants to see Kane in a relationship, as there have been very few wrestlers to ever pull off a successful on-screen romance. And Kane certainly isn't one of them. But beyond this, it might have been another on-screen partnership that really was the problem. I'm talking about his tag team partnership with X-Pac. Now yes, the duo was extremely popular, but again, it was harder to not get over back in those days as fans cheered for just about anything. Additionally, this would be the first of many big man little man tag teams that Kane would form, sticking him in something of a rut for his entire career, as Kane wouldn't spend a lot of time as a world champion, but between all of his partners, both big and small, he would end up winning tag team gold in WWE a total of 12 times, which when you think about it really solidifies him as a tag team wrestler. And while there is nothing wrong with that in general, as far as Vince McMahon is concerned, tag team wrestling has never been a top priority. Oh, and also, let's remember that during his time with X-Pac, another potential shark jump moment happened when he spoke for the first time without his voice assistants, where he uttered the words, "Suck it." And of course, we also have to remember how this tag team partnership split up, when X-Pac turned on Kane and then revealed that he and Tori were having an affair. And yet, this wasn't the first time that Kane was made out to look like a chump. After all, he initially turned babyface after being betrayed by Chyna at WrestleMania 15 before all this ever happened. But while we're talking about Kane's love life, let's not forget about the feud he had right before he took off the mask. Of course, I'm talking about the entire Katie Vick storyline, where he feuded with Triple H. Now, this angle was so bad that people mostly remember it for the mock video that Triple H made, making fun of Kane, forgetting that that's just something that Kane was accused of while it was never confirmed to happen in kayfabe. Not that that makes it any better. My point here is, while many people look at the unmasking as the exact moment where Kane was ruined forever, you might have to look at it as something of a desperate measure, as they were just trying to rebound off of the terrible Katie Vick storyline, and they thought a hard reset was the best way to do it, even if they were wrong. I mean, what was up with him only shaving half of his head? Did anyone else think that was weird? Now personally, I do think that taking the mask off was a huge mistake, especially since it undid a lot of the continuity with him being burned in a fire. And while we did look at a lot of things that happened to Kane before this happened, maybe we should look at a bunch of things that happened after, as perhaps the character still could have been rescued. It was just all the stuff that happened subsequently after the unmasking that made sure that wasn't going to happen. Because after the Big Red Machine took his mask off, he would follow this up by having a feud with Shane McMahon of all people, which no matter how much WWE tries, really doesn't help to put anybody over, even if they do try to electrocute Shane's, well, you know. And if all this wasn't bad enough, it would eventually be followed up by a storyline with Lita, which involved a whole bunch of stuff that is definitely not okay. And then all of it would only be followed up even further by having Kane play stand-in for Matt Hardy during the whole fiasco with Edge. And while unmasked Kane would get a world title reign lasting longer than a single day, he would end up putting the mask back on, showcasing that WWE really figured out how badly they messed up here. But nevertheless, the genie just couldn't be put back in the bottle. And in addition, even as popular as it was, I do have to say that teaming him up with Daniel Bryan and showing him an anger management really wasn't helping matters either. Well, there you go, a bunch of character ruining moments for Kane. Oh, let's not forget about corporate Kane either. Anyway, when do you think that the gimmick became unsavable? And do you even think that that's true? Let me know down in the comments, and please make sure you like this video and that you subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for my awesome Patreon supporters, and thank you for watching. And as always, Dave knows.